Moments ago, the Crowley family finally broke their long silence and revealed what they say happened deep inside the wilderness Ewan Crowley called home. For years, fans of Frontier Live saw Ewan as grit, made flesh, lean muscle, quiet hands, and a mind tuned to the old rhythms of the blue spine. But behind the peaceful life the cameras caught was a truth he kept from everyone, even his closest friends. According to his family, something happened out there, something that changed the way he saw the world forever. They say he stopped simply living on the land. The land began living through him, and what the Crowleys have admitted may explain why Ewan slipped from the spotlight and why the ridge he loved has never felt the same since. Ewan wasn't just another homesteader with a good hat and better stories. At 17, he shouldered a pack, walked into the mountains, and never truly came back. He built Kestrel Hollow by hand, cabins framed from wind-bent pines, a smithy that sang in winter, a schoolyard of split rails where strangers learned to tan hides, split kindling, and hush the static of modern life. To the world, he was the fearless heart of frontier lives. To his family, there was something more, something almost liturgical in the way he moved through the trees. Ewan doesn't live in the woods, his brother once said. The woods live in him. But reverence can turn to gravity, letters thin to postcards, visits turned to voicemails. Ewan's voice went quiet, as if the mountain was borrowing it. Guests at Kestrel Hollow saw him fall into long silences, eyes fixed on the tree line like a man listening to someone else's prayer. He started calling the land she. He said the forest breathed, watched, remembered. As fame grew, Ewan receded. Cameras captured his triumphs, not their toll. He balanced between two worlds, the modern one that demanded attention and the ancient one that demanded permission. Balance, like a beam in floodwater, doesn't hold forever. Whispers drifted down from Kestrel Hollow, night noises no one could place, a low humming, distant tapping, the soft braid of voices with no mouths to carry them. Lantern light slipping through black timber as Ewan walked alone after midnight, leather journal tucked under his arm, talking about old keepers of the ridge. He began leaving bits of bread and twine and honey at a great lightning-bit oak. Keeps the place calm, he'd say. Friends worried, family watched, strangers shrugged it off as superstition. Then came the cabin. Ewan's nephew, Daniel, hiked in unannounced one autumn after hearing his uncle wasn't well. Past the last split trail he found a narrow path, and beyond it a windowless shack under vines and patience. The door was lashed with rope. Inside, cedar dust, cold air, and journals, hundreds of them stacked from plank to rafters. Weather, migrations, moonrise and rot, and something else. The Watchers, he wrote of beings that roamed when fires died, of symbols carved into bark that no hand confessed to carving, of tracks that looked like nothing Daniel had learned to name. There were sketches of spirals, and a single line, underlined 3 times. They come when the fire dies. The handwriting was Ewan's. The last entry, dated a week before he vanished for 3 days, ended mid-sentence, followed by a smear of dirt and what looked like prints from a hand that had slept in the soil. He came back on the 4th dawn, barefoot, scratched, and shaking. He didn't know anyone at first. His shirt was damp. His eyes were far. He kept repeating the same 6 words. The forest took me and back. When they led him toward the cabin, he balked, sleeping outside with his boots for a pillow, waking in panic breaths, and whispering that the mountain was calling him by the name his mother used only when he was small. Inside, someone had raked claw marks down the cabin door from the inside, like a thing trying to get out. It wasn't trying to hurt me, Ewan said, wind thin. It was trying to warn me. The Crowleys drove up to bring him down the mountain for a spell. They found him by the river, hair knotted, clothes torn, as tired as an old prayer. He refused to leave. There are rules here, he whispered. You take too much. It takes back what's owed. They stayed the night. Sleep did not. Branches snapped without wind. A low chant threaded the dark. The air felt heavy with eyes. At dawn, Ewan stood in a clearing facing the first light, barefoot on frosted clover. Greeting the ones who guard the ridge, he explained. He agreed to see a doctor in town. Halfway down the dirt road, he asked them to stop. You don't go farther than this, he said, and stepped into the trees. Hours later he returned calm, as if he'd rinsed his body in an unseen river. Storm season arrived like a verdict. A violent squall tore through Kestrel Hollow, uprooting a ring of old timber all around his cabin. Only the small circle where he'd planted carved totems stood untouched, weather quiet, as if the air refused to cross that line. Finally, by the Crowley hearth one winter, he told them everything. He'd followed a dream into a silence so deep even the gnats held their breath. In a small clearing, he felt the ground had been opened and closed 100 times. He dug compulsion, not curiosity, and found bones and tools and stones carved with spirals that made his teeth ache. When his fingers touched a stone, the light dimmed. The earth whispered like water running under floorboards. He ran home, but the voices came with him, threading through chinks in the cabin wall. They weren't angry, he said, just watchful. Animals shied. Weather turned quick as a knife. That spiral began appearing on trees near his fence. He admitted he had wrapped one carved stone in cloth and hidden it beneath his bed. After that, missing hours, sleepless nights, the steady feeling that something stood just out of sight. I think the mountain woke up, he said at last. The Crowleys kept his secret. But what followed made secrecy feel like sacrilege. Lightning found the same ridge again and again. Deer rerouted. Birds left early. Horses balked at trails they'd walked since colthood. Behind Ewan's cabin, his nephew found a circle of log faces, carved with hollow eyes and open mouths, each marked with that same spiral. They seemed to turn, just a breath, each time Daniel passed. They're reminders, Ewan said, to the land, that I still listen. Researchers who later read his notebooks were startled by their precision. His storm notes and migration maps matched regional shifts, sometimes recorded days before the instruments shouted. Skeptics called it coincidence. Others called it a man who could feel the ground's pulse. Ewan told his sister that the wilderness wasn't scenery. It's language, he said, and memory. It remembers who asks and who takes. He stepped away from cameras and didn't step back. The old lodge at Kestrel Hollow still stands. Locals swear that at dawn on certain mornings a column of smoke threads the cold air. Every year, on the anniversary of the 3 missing days, the ridge glows faint, as if lightning were sleeping under the skin of the mountain. Scientists talk about minerals and moisture. The Crowleys call it remembrance. They visit sometimes, leaving supplies where the trail widens and the air grows thick. They don't go deeper. The silence carries a boundary. Did Ewan Crowley find a living consciousness in the old woods, or did he wander so far into nature he found a larger part of himself and stayed? No one can say. What's certain is simple. He left more than a creed of self-reliance. He left a mystery rooted in the soil. The mountain called him home, his sister said, and he answered, maybe this answer isn't meant to be solved. Maybe it's meant to be felt in the whisper of the wind, the hush between raindrops, and the quiet knowledge that the earth never forgets the people who truly listened.